Welcome to another episode of Play On with myself, Aisling O'Reilly, brought to you by Sportstalk.ie. We'd like to thank Dublin's premier nightclub and hotel, Copperface Jacks. And on this episode, it's all about the Cats. I'm delighted to be joined by former Kilkenny goalkeeper and 5-time All-Ireland winner, David Herity, and Camogie All-Star and All-Ireland winner, Grace Walsh. Lads, you're very welcome.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And so for retirement for yourself, David, it's obviously a hard decision to come to after so many years, and you had so many successful years as well. And I think you announced it around the time that Tommy Walsh announced it as well. I think it was the same year, wasn't it? Maybe.
It was, yeah. I think Tommy was the first to go, I think, around the time. He went fairly soon, and it was actually brilliant when Tommy went because, you know, at the start of that year, I decided I was going to go anyway. I decided in January, no matter what had happened, I knew I had 2 operations coming along, and I know there's a little rookie goalkeeper called Owen Murphy coming behind me who was just tearing it up like there was no competing with him. And obviously, by the end of the year, Owen had played in the All-Ireland final, but he was phenomenal. And I knew then, obviously, going into getting two surgeries then over the winter time, you probably weren't going to be back till May, which means you're going to miss another year as sub. And I know it's great kind of playing with Kilkenny, it is phenomenal, but if you're not playing, you know, often, I know you kind of mentioned at the start there about 5 All-Irelands, I'd always kind of cringe at that because, you know, you're not playing in all of them. So that to me now, I'd nearly have more pride in under 21s that we won with because you're playing, because I don't, it just doesn't sit well with me, any of that kind of stuff. I never hear it. Anyway, not to put you in that way, but yeah, it's just funny, but it was just about leaving. I was leaving anyway, and I met up with Brian in Spring Hill. I asked to meet him. I rang him up. I remember doing it, and he has a funny kind of, there's something unusual, but he never answers the phone to you. Like he'd always, I don't know. It's like he panic. I don't know. Does he ever panic? But you ring his phone. He'll never answer, but he'll ring you back a minute later, and I don't know what that is. It's like when you walk into a dressing room with him.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I don't think that now, but but like you walk into a dressing room. If he walked in, because I'd be the first seat in the dressing room. If he walked in, he'd never say hello. He'd wait for you to say hello to him first.
Is that a control thing?
I don't know what it is. I've always found it unusual. But I actually tried to bring that into management then. It didn't work. But you know, because people just think you're strange. But yeah, no, I met up with him. I asked to actually meet him while I drive over to your house, and he goes, "Geez, no." So I met up with him in Spring Hill, but we had a great chat. We spoke for probably, I think it was 2 hours. It was just unusual, like because he came in with his big strong demeanour, but then as soon as I said I was retiring, he was able to relax, and then he opened up as much as I suppose he ever could open up, and say that he was trying to say in ways he knew that he's probably not going to leave Kilkenny with a massive amount of friends. Like, you know, that's...
What do you mean by that?
As in, you know, everyone has the utmost respect for Brian, but I suppose he hasn't gotten close to anyone over the years. Like,
is that his management style to not?
It is, absolutely.
So he wouldn't ring you up, or
Jesus, no, he would never ever. I'd ring him up. I had to ring him up twice in the last year to say I missed 3 trains in total in my time that I was there, but 2 of them
in all the years.
Yeah, but one of them was I had an operation at something like 3 o'clock, or I had an operation at 11, and I got out at 3, but then I tried to make training then for 7 that night.
After an operation?
Yeah, and then he kind of said, no, you're probably okay. But then I missed out on 2 more because both my grannies happened to die within the space of a month. But I remember it was funny, he brought that up. He was trying to show that he is a compassionate man when he was retiring, and he goes, look at it, you know, people think that I'm this way and that, you know, I don't care for the players and so on. He goes, but like, I let you go to your 2 grannies' funerals.
He did not.
And then he goes, and I remember then he followed up, he goes, and I let John Power, like he wanted time off for exams. And then he goes, now, I was always going to let you go to your granny's funerals, but he was trying to just prove
like,
that this is
thanks.
me. Look at such a nice, friendly man I am, that I was just thinking, Jesus, okay, you're
that's
scraping
really
the bar.
Interesting, yeah.
But he said he wasn't there to build friendships, he was there to build a legacy. And that was his way of doing it.
It's funny though, like how do you think that works for a manager? Like you think you need a bond with the players, and
I think he had a bond with the players back in 99, 2000 and 2001. And then, listen to any of the lads, the lost to Galway in the 2001 semi-final, he went along and he culled a load of them at the end of that year. And I think then from then on, the lads just saw a whole different man. It was kind of, that's it, I'm going.
He changed it up.
I'm changing up
Yeah.
everything. Mr. Freeze there, basically in the dressing room the whole time and everywhere. But he's, I don't know, has he changed back in the last few years? But at the same time, yeah, no. Look,
but it's working for him. He's the most successful manager, isn't he?
He is the most successful manager. I don't know. I think the role of a manager nowadays is changing. I don't think he can be that way inclined anymore because he's the most unbelievable motivator you'll ever have. Like, he says the same thing every single time, but changes it up in such a way that you always want to win for him. It's incredible. I could say the exact same speech that he does every single time before a match, but he's just so good at it. He's brilliant. Like, don't get me wrong with that, but it's just unusual. Like, even there last year, sorry now to go over there, but we're at Jackie Tyrrell's wedding, and we went into a pub afterwards. You know, between the actual wedding, and the ceremony. You know, you head off to different pubs. So we went off to one anyway, and we're over by the window. Now there could have easily been 25 lads that have won All Irelands. Could have been easily 100 All Ireland medals in that room. Lads and their wives and girlfriends were all there. Anyway, we're over by the window, and next thing we saw, Brian was coming in with his wife Elsie. And anytime he comes in near a room, there's immediate silence. He just has that ability just to, like, if he walked in here now, just everything would shut down. He has that. But he walked in and he walked straight through the whole room, and there's could be 15 lads there, could be 10 lads there. Walked through the whole room. Everyone continued on. Never made eye contact with anyone. Didn't say hello to anyone. Walked into the back, and they were looking for someone. It could have been Dunica, their son, who was at the wedding, and he just went. Elsie said, "Yeah, no, they're not there." And he just turned around and walked back out again. You're just thinking, it's just, I don't know. Is it strange? Is it sad that he couldn't just come up to the bar, to lads that these are, and again, most of us had retired. Conor Fogarty probably hadn't, but he's probably the only one.
Yeah, like at that point, a lot of you had retired, so you're away from the game, you're away from the team of him managing you, so he doesn't have to have that, doesn't have to have some sort of face in him. But he obviously maybe felt that he never built a relationship with you, and maybe.
Now, he's an amazing man. If you talk to him one-to-one like that when you meet up with him that morning, he wants to talk and he loves it, but I just don't think I don't know.
Maybe personal skills is a tough one for him in a way.
You'll have the best crack with him in the off season, unbelievable. But for the likes of that, I don't know. It just seemed very strange that he still can't just
let go.
Yeah, he still has that kind of that control that way. But
that's really interesting. I just thinking of a manager that successful, I'd never think that they didn't have close bond, and
No, Jesus, no one did. No. No one did, and that's why, there's no hugs or there's no thanks or there's not this. But you know what?
So you wouldn't ring him now if you're
never
doing management now.
Years.
You wouldn't ring him for advice on a team or.
Not if I had nobody else in my phone book, bar his name. I wouldn't.
Oh my God!
And I wouldn't do it because I know he'd be looking at the phone, kind of going, "Why
he'd
is
wait
this lad
and ring you back."
I just know, and it's not out of. But if he came in here, I'd love to pick his brain maybe for 10 minutes. But the strange thing is that.
You respect him, and he's
huge respect. Don't get me wrong. He's phenomenal at what he did, but it's just funny that you would never. I don't know anyone that would ever ring him, and I think it kind of leads on to why he's kind of gone for DJ as a kind of a selector, and maybe.
Yeah. So what do you think about that then? DJ's now in with the Kilkenny setup for 2020.
Yeah, I think it's an unusual choice. I think DJ's the most phenomenal player I've ever seen after Noel Hickey. Like, when you were a young person growing up, probably too young, would you have ever seen DJ?
I would have, yeah.
Oh yeah,
he was class.
Like, DJ was different, gravy. You talk about TJ and all that, but no one had the speed of him. But then, like, DJ's been a manager of Carlow IT, and he's been a manager of the under-21s. To bring in another manager is unusual. Like, Mick Dempsey was a phenomenal coach. So to bring in a manager who hasn't, the day of the coach is gone now. I'm sure with Anne Downey last year, she didn't do a whole lot of the drills.
No.
You would have given that to Mullally or to Brian Dowland there over the last, and Conor Phelan. But all of a sudden, and to bring in DJ, I just can't imagine DJ doing drills and doing game-based drills. Could be completely wrong, but I just see him as everyone next year will have the best touch in Ireland. But I just don't think it's going to change the way. I think DJ will be very much go along with what Brian says. I think maybe Brian needs someone. I was thinking, like Jimmy Marr there's gone in with the minors. Yeah. He would have been a phenomenal lad for Brian to bring in. Someone with new ideas that has gone off to Clare, has a bit of experience there, who's won a minor All Ireland recently, has huge success as a coach. like when DJ had that success with Carlo IT that everyone's talking about, like Mick Dempsey was still the coach. So like Mick did everything on the pitch. He did all the strength and conditioning, and he did brought to the pitch. And Mick was a freak that he in a way that, you know, when we were going on team holidays, he'd go off and look at the Sydney Swans. He'd go off in the Argentinian rugby team. So he was constantly upskilling himself, and he'd go off and do his own kind of private thing. But that's what he brought to it. And he'd come back, and we'd have, you know, different drills and so on. But just to bring in DJ, I think it's an unusual choice. I think he'd be a phenomenal selector.
Yeah.
But I think it's also going to be a little bit unusual, the fact that his son is in and around the panel. And
I think he had reservations about that. He said, but I think Ryan Cody just said, forget about that. That's not going to be an issue.
Yeah, I think he said forget about it, because I don't know who else would have went in with Brian.
Yeah. Maybe that's what's happening there. Maybe, you know, he wants someone that's in to maybe agree and...
Well, it does seem like it. Now, I think down through the grades, Jimmy Markham with the minors is brilliant. I thought Kilkenny fell asleep for a long time at the wheel with the people that they were putting in charge at certain times down through the years when the golden generation was going on. Like when you look at the under-21 section, we haven't won an All-Ireland since 2010. That shouldn't happen in Kilkenny. But and I understand that there are some good managers, and you come up against great teams like that. Clare team was a great team, and Limerick team was a great team that they lost in finals to, but still they should have had more success. But it's good to see Jimmy back in. I think Michael Rice is a phenomenal person to get in, and Peter Barry at under 21 level. I don't know about the senior.
It remains to be seen.
Yeah, it really does.
Definitely.
It's going to be interesting.
And Grace, for you, and Downey was probably a huge influence from her playing days, and then obviously managing this, and then she left there this year.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Disappointing. Suppose she came in after the dressing room after we lost the All-Ireland, and she just told us straight away.
Oh, right.
I wasn't surprised, but definitely very disappointed. She's been class like throughout the years. When I was brought in first, I was only 16, maybe just gone 17, and like I got the call from her. She was with us for I think 2 years then. And then I've had a few managers in between, and then 4 years ago again, then she came back on board, and like she's incredible. Like just what she gives to Kilkenny Camogie is outrageous. And even those few years that she wasn't there, like she was still always in the background at the games, like always there to support. And she loved to be on the pitch as much as we would. And like she's a tough cookie, but like coming in on the panel when you're young, she's kind of scary, and you'd be afraid to ask her certain things, and she does, like, she gets that respect from everybody, but the more you get to know her, you see the soft side of her. And I don't know, maybe myself, I'm sometimes I'm brave enough to like ask her the questions that no one wants to ask, but she'll always give you a look, like a horrific look, but she'll always try and help you no matter what. And I don't know, she instilled a belief in us over the last number of years, like that we were good enough, but unfortunately we just came up short. And you would have loved to have won another one for her. And like David said earlier on about the 5 All-Irelands, but he hadn't played in them all. The only one that we actually won, I didn't play in the final. So I kind of feel like I don't really have one.
Really, yeah.
So it's disappointing now not to win one under her, on like a personal note, I suppose.
Do you think that's what it was for? It just was too much to take again this year when you just fell at that last hurdle?
Yeah, I just think like for someone like her, like she's putting her whole life on hold just to look after us, because I know she's there every night at training, but the stuff she's doing in the background is crazy. And I just think that she probably thought that it would be good for us, that we would benefit from her stepping away, because she was like, I think you need some new voices. But I think everybody would have been happy if she'd stayed on again for another year. But
is there anything just over the last 3 years, is there anything that you'd put your finger on and kind of go, that's where, you know, is there some little thing that you think, right, that'll get us over the line?
I just think it's like
I know you've got the gym. I know you've got the gym membership there, and that's a great thing. I just saw there on Twitter there last week
with Spring Hill, which has been brilliant. Brian, in fairness to him, got that on the cards, but I think it's more like nearly a fear of winning. Like I don't know how else to describe it, because like in the All-Ireland final this year and last year, on the day, like I had so much confidence, and I believed so much that we were going to win, and not in a cocky way. I was just so confident in confident in the group girls that were around me. But some people, I think, just maybe freeze on the day of an All-Ireland final in Croke Park.
Yeah.
Because we were definitely good enough to win it this year, but Galway just blew us out of the water. And they worked that bit harder, and I don't think that they were more determined or that they wanted it more, because we all wanted just as much as each other, but on the day they worked that bit harder and they had so much belief in themselves that they were going to win.
Yeah, look, I've gone to all your finals there, but I think you were fierce and lucky the last 2 years. Even the couple of frees there near the end of a game, something can just switch it. But I always just think that Kilkenny, if you win one, it'll just get the monkey off your back maybe, and you'll start be able to kick on and get that bit of confidence. But it's actually hard to believe, when you're talking about win that one, that they've only won one in the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Now. It is nuts. Because obviously I would have played against Kilkenny when I was with Dublin, but they're phenomenal. Jesus, your ability is off the charts. The skill level, the speed, the physicality of it, it's very hard to match. And you are the best team. I still think you're the best team in the country. It's hard to believe how you're just not getting over. I'm not really making it sound any easier for you. But
no, but I think it's probably like even the Dublin ladies footballers, they had a few years of that where they kept getting to the finals. Yeah.
That's
and then
what I'm
Mick
holding
Bowen
on
came
to.
in and changed the whole thing up. So maybe this year, something fresh, something new.
The ladies footballers, the Dublin footballers, they lost 3 in a row, and
Yeah.
now they're after winning 3 in a row.
There you go. This is your chance.
Holding on to that. A little bit of
Underage-wise,
hope.
underage-wise, what are they like in Kilkenny? Is there much coming through?
Don't ask me that question because I don't know. Can we cut that back? I have no idea.
We're definitely putting that in.
It's actually true enough, but sorry, but when lads go, geez, did you ever see Jimmy in the minor team? And you're like, I couldn't care less. I'm concentrating on myself and the senior team.
When you're playing, that's what it's like. I think once you step away, you might see it differently.
Yeah.
But David, so you obviously were managing the Dublin Camogie team, and you obviously played against Grace here at some point. Did you have her man-marked well that day?
You don't need to man-mark me.
No, they had so many players. We played you. That could have been, because remember I was at a thing with Anne Downey, and she reminded me, all right, that they'd beaten us 5 times in a row at that stage anyway. And then the previous week, they bet us again. But we lost an All-Ireland. We got to the All-Ireland semi-final 2017. Kilkenny had hammered us in the group stage, and then we got to the semi-final, and unfortunately I think we came up, I think it might have been 9 points in it in the end. They got a goal.
We played really bad that day. Should have been more.
Yes.
Oh God.
That's it, Grace. Fight and talk.
Oh,
How did you play that day? Do you remember?
How did I play?
Yeah.
Absolutely useless. I remember. That was
I thought you were joking, but no, you weren't. You were actually they got a goal in the first minute and the last minute, and that was. But you were the better team. You just couldn't put us away. But we had chances. But that was that. No, they were brilliant. They just They just have that level up. Dublin are a little bit behind. There is the kind of Galway, Cork, Kilkenny. They're ahead in Camogie. Then I think Waterford were at least chasing the pack. Waterford were definitely closing in there, and but Donal O'Rourke's after stepping away, which I think is a massive blow to them. That is just huge. He's after making massive strides in the last 2 years with them, but he's a wanted coach and manager, and I'm sure
I'll butt in here, but sure, so were you. You made massive strides there with Dublin, and did you leave too soon, or what happened there?
No, we made massive strides year 1, year 2. Again, we qualified for the quarter final. We're very unlucky that we didn't, I suppose, get an easier draw maybe against Waterford. It would have been a nice 50-50 game to get into a semi-final again. And I decided that I was going back for year 3 with the girls. It was ratified. We told the girls on, I sent a text message to the girls on Facebook. We were going back, and that was that. And the thing is with Dublin, you kind of only you don't have all the best players. We didn't have all the best players in 2017. The ones that we were missing, we got at an 18. But then we had 7 All-Star nominations at the end of 2017. 5 of them left to go off travelling and do different things. And then in 2018, we had another group that kind of came in, but you were always nearly replacing them. So we felt then, heading into 2019, we'd have a great chance then of getting them all back. And there was good rumours that they'd all be there together, and we thought we'd kick on. and it was ratified in Dublin. But then, bizarrely, the whole thing went to pot when my strength and conditioning coach, John Matthews, who I had, he was doing an excellent job. He was stepping away, so I was bringing in another strength and conditioning coach, and that was grand. And we sat down with the county board, and I sat down with the chairperson and the secretary, and they were okay with that, or seemed to be okay with all this. And then I kind of got whispers that they'd signed a contract during the summer. I didn't know about it. None of the senior management knew about it anyway. That they were going with a certain, strength and conditioning coach, Philly McMahon's gyms, and they wanted kind of the same person over all the grades. But like at that stage, I had my new strength and conditioning coach, and I was hoping then to kind of kick on with it. But then it kind of only became clear then that.
So you hadn't been told any of this.
I hadn't been
you were
told
getting
any of
things
it.
in place for the next year.
Yeah, and we were starting back. I'd been out in Abbottstown, and we'd set up the training camp, and everything was planned out, and up until February at leagues and all that kind of stuff. So we'd loads of meetings gone on and trying to get everything sorted. And then I got a text message one day saying that that they weren't going to be able to, I suppose, pay for my strength and conditioning coach, and then another one. But it completely went. It went sideways basically, and I was kind of saying, well, I'd like to bring in who I want to bring in. Like, Philly's a phenomenal footballer. He runs a very good business, but I wouldn't be getting Philly. I'd be getting someone that Philly's employing that doesn't know that, and I don't know him, and I'd have no relationship. And your strength and conditioning coach, as anyone will know nowadays, is possibly he's in your top three as far as management is concerned. You have to be able to trust him. It's your head coach, it's yourself, and your strength and conditioning coach, and you three have to work and plan together. So if you don't know the person and all of a sudden you're just handing them over to him maybe twice a week for the whole year, that's a huge amount of trust that you have to have in someone, and especially when it's not going to be the same person every week.
Yeah.
So I just simply said, I can't work with that person, and they went, grand. So, and
that was that.
That was that. So they just went with.
That easy.
It was literally that. I got an email to say, thanks very much. Cheers. We'll get everything. We'll get the documentation. We'll get it signed and sealed that you're gone. So
it's a bit odd, is it?
Shocking.
Was it?
Yeah.
It's like just because of the strength and conditioning coach.
Just because. Now I put my foot. I didn't want to. I suppose they'd signed the contract, so that was done. So I still felt that we had so much work to do, and again, I wanted to work with someone who I'd built up, who I knew was going to be phenomenal.
But
Stephen
that's fair
Harold.
enough. That's a given. Normally, when you have a manager coming in, they bring their team, or they decide who their team is. I think that's a.
Look, I suppose there was change at all the other grades. I've done a 14, 16 minor, or Premier Junior. There was changes in all those grades, so I could see maybe if they'd have catered for all that, but they'd obviously signed up the contract for everyone. And I didn't know about it, so I wasn't kind of diluting my squad for someone I didn't know or trust. So they were kind of happy enough. They kind of went grand. So, and that was it. I'd say it was done within 24 hours. Before getting a text message one day, and by the time I got an email the next morning to kind of go, thanks.
I'm sure the girls were very disappointed.
But then you had to kind of go back and say to them, look, I'm going. But but again, you want to give like. For us, I felt that we probably could have. There were certain areas that we needed to push on. We had done kind of 1 day a week. We kind of done one gym and 2 pitch, but I felt that we needed to go up to 2 gym and 2 pitch a week. I felt like in Dublin we're a little bit behind on the hurling side and the physical development side of things, and I felt this is where we needed. And we were going to go back in it was mid-October to try and get those extra 4 weeks. Yeah. Ahead of everyone else, and kind of really make a push on the league when you would be kind of on your team holidays and relaxing and well, I suppose at that stage I think
what's the team holiday?
But I suppose you don't go back really until January properly some years anyway, but we wanted to get those extra kind of 2.5 months on the top 3 because we felt that we were closing in. We're still making the knockout stages. Look, it is bizarre. It kind of, when you look, unfortunately, they didn't get out of group stage. They brought a manager in for a year. I think the same kind of crack has gone on there this year again. They told him by email or it could have been text message that he was gone.
That's just so unfair on the girls, I feel like.
Absolutely.
Nobody was thinking of them in that situation. They're obviously just thinking about the strength and conditioning coach, the whatever deal they done. for all the teams. But I just find like those girls have put all that time in.
But I can see what
on.
they're trying to do. But I still think that if you're going to sign something like that, surely your manager or manager of the senior team should be involved in it, in trying to have a discussion with you so you can actually see, right, is this actually going to work? But the girls have suffered hugely because, again, then it's a changeover of management. And then when the next manager comes in, straight away they're thinking to themselves, well, I don't owe him anything. So I can actually step away. When he rings me, it's going to be over a phone. You can just simply say no. And I found out myself when I went to Kildare as well. It's very easy for someone to say no. But that's the brilliant thing. That's the bit of the cleverness out of Kilkenny. They lost, and straight away they just bring in Brian Dowling, who's the head coach there this year. It's just seamless.
So, Grace, Tommy and Porrick are obviously your brothers. I read there that you were asked what your favourite player was growing up and your current favourite player. And so you said for your favourite player growing up was Tommy Walsh and your current favourite player is Porrick Walsh.
Oh, that was a pure piss take. That was on something.
That made me laugh.
I hope people knew I was joking about that.
Ah, no. Sure, they're great players.
No, they're not my favourite players.
Were they big influences to you growing up?
I don't know about influence. I suppose I saw the commitment and stuff that both of them have given to the GAA, and I suppose it kind of brushed off of me a little bit. I'd never really be asking them for advice or anything like that. I try playing my own game because I'm my own person. I used to hate talking about them so much because I hated being known as Tommy Walsh's sister.
Yeah,
but
too
now
right.
I'm like,
thanks to 2020.
But now you're known in your own right, so you don't. Oh, well, you are though.
I used to like put loads of pressure on me. I remember I used to do interviews for matches. Like, because when I started playing with Kilkenny, they always asked for me because I was Tommy's sister and then Porrick's sister. And I could do it. I actually did one before the All-Ireland semi-final against Dublin. And it would be playing through my head for the whole week coming up to it. And in my head, I'd be like, fuck, they're going to be looking at me now. I have to be as good as them. And I used to always say shit. And I still put it down that I played shit that day because of
just the pressure of...
So I try not to do them anymore, but this year I had to do loads because Anne just makes me do. I'm in Dublin.
For that, yeah.
I know I don't really put myself under pressure. I just read anything I do now. I don't look at it.
That's the big thing. Jesus Christ, that's tough going.
So you would have been worrying about these interviews after the game, and
coming up to the game, like going out, if any like All Ireland final day, would say the ones that would have been televised, I'd be like, oh, they're going to be looking at me now. And they wouldn't be at all. Like,
no,
just in my head, I'd
just
got
like, into your
my
head.
My parents probably would have been the biggest influence on all of us as a family. Because, they just... Oh, my God, I'm after losing myself now.
No, you're grand. Take your time.
I suppose my parents probably would have been the big influences on all of us as a family growing up. And they instilled, like, a belief in us, like, that made us believe in ourselves growing up, that we were good enough. And... I suppose I am actually after losing what I'm saying here, so can we just...
That was really good, though.
No, it wasn't.
It really was.
I don't know where I'm
no,
I know.
Don't know how many times I've done that on radio. I started actually doing this thing where you start a sentence and you go, and then my inner head goes, you haven't a fucking clue where the end of this sentence is going. Not a fucking clue. And you keep talking, you haven't a clue what the question was. But you just keep talking.
That's why I get to ask questions, because I wouldn't be good at the other side of it.
I suppose my mother's very biased, and she's very confident in us all. And where my dad then, on the other hand, any game you play, if you played bad, you'd know about it because of my dad. You could never ask my mum like how you played, because she'd always say good, no matter how bad you played, no matter how many goals your players scored off you. But they were definitely the biggest influences, because you could always go back to them for advice. And I suppose watching the two lads growing up, like the commitment that they gave to Kilkenny and to the club, Tullaroan, the effort that they put in was incredible. And I suppose you kind of want to copy that, and you want to put that same effort into your own team, and I suppose build your own profile and show who you can be, and not be someone else's sister. I don't try and play like any of my brothers. Like, I just try to be as good as I know I can be myself.
Definitely. And so growing up, you would have been quite young for a lot of the All-Ireland stuff. Do you remember them? Like, Dave would have been playing in some of them. Like,
yeah.
Were you? Do you remember going to Croke Park?
I think I was about 7 or 8, we'll say, when Tommy was first in with the Kilkenny team. I remember I remember when I was 10 years old, I don't know what it was called. Was it the Davin or the Nally? It was behind the goal anyway. Don't know
The
what
Davin
the stand was
stand.
called at the time.
Yeah.
My parents, I don't know, the lads Tommy got maybe 2 free tickets at the time. So my parents went to the Hogan stand and we went off with, I remember, Dick Walsh, he's chairperson of the club at the moment, from Tullaroan. He's a cousin of ours, but we had to go with their family. So it was myself, my brother Martin, Porrick, and my younger brother Shane, stuck behind the goal for that match, and that's definitely my biggest memory because it was the time Tommy scored that goal
Against Tip.
against Tip on Brendan Cummins. I think there was about 4 or 5 shots on him.
It was, yeah.
And then eventually he got it in. So that's definitely my first memory of being in Croke Park and watching Kilkenny play, and it was incredible to see.
Do you think you watched then and said, I want to do this?
Oh, absolutely. Like that's when you're watching like stuff like that and you get such a buzz and such a great feeling, you're like, I want to be that person that makes the crowd get that same feeling that you got when you were in the crowd. So yeah, definitely.
And so David, for you, do you remember your first time ever in Croke Park?
Yeah. It was 1998. I was watching my brother was playing with the minor team. So they got into an All-Ireland final and against Cork. Now they got badly beaten, all right, in the end. But yeah, so that was my first time. And then a year later, I was on the minor team myself. That was 99. And yeah, that was my first experience because I remember walking out onto the pitch and just touching the crossbar, and then a steward came over to give out to me. It was a big, thick wooden crossbar back then. But yeah, we played against Wexford. We hadn't lost a minor in 10 years or something like that. But we ended up drawing the game. But I'll never forget that because I was only young enough. I think I was gone 16 at that stage. And I remember in the first minute, I just got completely overawed with the size of the stadium. And I found myself, I just started drifting out. I don't know what I was thinking or doing anyway, but a shot was taken in from 60 yards. I'd love to see it back. Just because in my head, but I just started drifting out, and next thing the ball went over, and I went to tap the crossbar like you do, and next thing it dipped in, and I saw it hitting the bottom of the crossbar, but it bounced back. So as I'm looking back, the ball's coming back that way, and there was a Wexford lad ready to pull it into an empty net basically, and Brian Murphy from O'Loughlin's. Anytime I see him, I'd say he's sick of it at this stage, but I'm always kind of wanting to buy him a pint. He hooked the ball, or hooked your man, whoever he was. I think it could have been Desi Mighton or Rory Jacob, and ball was cleared. But I just remember at that moment, actually, someone from the crowd shouting, "The keeper is shit."
Oh no!
Because you know it's minor, but it's minor. But there's not too many people in the crowd at the time. I remember looking up to my left, someone goes, "The keeper is shit," and I was like, "Fuck." So it was.
So you think it was Croke Park, and you sort of lost a bit of the.
Yeah, it was just a few minutes in, and you're kind of looking around. I suppose you're only
It's such
young
a big
lad.
pitch.
It
You
is,
probably.
and that's why I wanted to go into the goal before the match just to get used to it. But then you weren't allowed to set foot on the pitch because heaven forbid you'd do something to it. But that was my first time playing in Croke Park. It was phenomenal. And the last time actually then was
Did you win that day?
We ended up drawing with the last puck of the game. We ended up then, thankfully, we won the next game, and
Happy days.
we never actually got to an All-Ireland minor final. We lost 3 of them in a row. But or lost the semi-finals and stuff. We never got to a final. But yeah, my last day then was against Limerick in the thunderstorm day in the All-Ireland semi-final 2014. So yeah, another baptism of fire really that day. But it was good. Yeah, there was whatever the amount of years then, 15 years. But it's a phenomenal place. Like it really and truly is just. You're talking about that wanting to make the crowd roar. I would have had that for years where I just wanted to make one save. That's all I ever wanted. Was one save that was just off the charts in the final. And you'd nearly build yourself up so much that I could never do it. Never happened. And it just used to stick me. That's the one thing now that annoyed me.
Yeah.
That
What? Do you have like 5 All-Ireland?
I just wanted. That's all I wanted was one. One of those saves that
I just wanted an All-Ireland. Yeah, that's too much to ask.
That'll do.
Anyways, yeah.
Grace, do you remember your first time playing?
I do. We played. It was a league game against Dublin. And it was just something to promote the game. I remember it was on television. I was playing cornerback. It was under lights. There was no one in the crowd, and I remember going out to the corner. I rose up a ball, and I was all on my own. And Anne Dalton was just like a couple of yards down the line, and I was like, right, I'm going to hit it straight to her. But I stayed looking at her, didn't look at the ball. completely just missed the ball, hit mid-air, and all I could think about was, oh my God, this is on television. Picked back up the ball and just hand-passed it to the person closest to me. I just panicked. That was my first time playing in Croke Park.
Oh my God.
And then after that probably would have been my first All-Ireland final.
But thank God then you did get that day, because then the next time you played was an All-Ireland final.
And
so
you know what? Like, I've learned over the last couple of years, especially the last 3 years playing, and in the semi-final, we'll say the last 3 years that I started in All-Ireland finals, I played in semi-finals previous to that, and I was always so nervous going out, and it never went well for me, and I was always nervous of the crowd and the cameras and everything. But the last 3 years, I've just like changed my way of thinking, and I always look into the crowd when I'm walking around the parade. I embrace it. I like to see if I can see anybody. I don't go waving, but I just like try to take it all in, and I feel like it has just made such a difference to my confidence the day of a game. I'm a nice nervous, like the nervous you want to be before a game, and you're just ready for the ball to be thrown in. But yeah, so now it's one of my favourite places to play.
And do you think some of the younger girls maybe playing for Kilkenny, could you pass down that to them when you were going out for the All-Ireland, or could you see it in them?
Yeah, well, I've never really said it, I suppose, in front of the group. Maybe it's something that I should try pass on, because, you know, it wouldn't work for everybody, but maybe it would for some.
Yeah.
Because it is daunting going out when you're a young person playing on Croke Park for the first time, because the crowd is there and it's something that you're not used to. But yeah, something that we'll have to look at, I think.
And obviously the last 3 years it has been tough to take, I'm sure. How did you feel after that final, say this year, or maybe when it sunk in a few days later?
I suppose, like, obviously at the final whistle it's always so disappointing. 2017, 2018 were horrific, and I found myself like very, very low afterwards. But this year, a good friend, someone that was very sick coming up to the final, brother Damien Brennan, he was up in Vincent's Hospital where I work, and I visited him, I'd say, nearly every day for about 3 months, and he passed away the week of the All-Ireland final, and it just put the whole thing in perspective. And when the final whistle went, obviously I was so disappointed because he put in so much effort, but at the same time I was like, do you know, it's just another match.
It's a game.
I still got to enjoy the whole year, and I still have another year to look forward to. So this year was quite different. I didn't allow myself to have that gutted feeling like I have the previous years, and I don't think I'll allow myself to have it ever again.
Jeez, yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. It really is just a game at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, you know, we spoke about Mick Dempsey moving on there earlier on. I think the passing of brother Damien there this year is just going to be such a massive loss. I don't think anyone can even quantify what the loss he's going to be to the Kilkenny setup. He was the silent man behind the scene. We pretty much, you're talking about nerves and you're talking about all these things that Grace has felt. We all felt them. I know everyone thought we were kind of like a team of robots just winning the whole time. Every one of us were going to, like, you know, from the Henry to Jackie to JJ Taggy, Richie Hogan and Owen Murphy, Conor Fogarty, everyone was going to brother Damien. He was an incredible mentor to every one of us. We'd go there, we'd talk about it. I suppose, you know, we spoke there. What you had with Brian was a phenomenal motivator, organizer. He was an incredible manager, but that I suppose that man managing skill that he might have lacked, or that empathy that he lacked, we went to brother Damien for that. So he was our kind of a psychologist, but he was our silent psychologist. No one really spoke about it until really kind of Jackie wrote about him in the book, and Henry mentioned him as well, I think. But he passed away that week. But he's going to be such a massive loss. He is just huge. Like, he was a phenomenal man. He would have done anything for anyone, like any time of the day. And I'm talking not even the lads that would have worked. The players that would have been with him. I was lucky enough to know him since '97, since he was. He spoke about club, but I would have been in secondary school with him, and we would have won a Leinster colleges. Now that's essentially, we bet Kieran's in a final in '98, but that kick-started everything for us to say. And that man kick-started. Like, we probably had a team of about 10 brothers, or, you know, kind of it was 5 brothers and a few extras. Kieran's had lads from about 6 different counties. You know, it was just phenomenal. But he instilled such belief. I'm delighted you brought him up there, because I just think he is. It's going to be very interesting to see how lads can cope without him, even in the back room, and how Kilkenny are going to fill that void, because it is a void. So many of that panel, I'm sure there could have been anything up to. Jesus, it could be, we just don't know. You literally don't know the amount of. You could drive past his house and see someone's car and you're going, holy God, there. But then it was kind of nice to kind of go, right, he needs a small bit of help as well, because the inter-county scene has gone to a different level. You're talking about the wellness and mindfulness and all that. Like lads and girls. That's the one thing I kind of notice. It's everywhere that there are people kind of suffering and they need a huge amount of help.
Yeah.
And the GPA has been phenomenal. Brother Damon for us was incredible. The GPA has been phenomenal. And I know kind of just even from my own brief spell in management and coaching, only for the GPA, they have helped some amount of lads and ladies and down through it. And it's just, you talk about Twitter, everything, just the whole pressure.
The whole media side of it now.
It really is.
It puts a lot of pressure on young people.
Absolutely.
And no matter what anyone says about reading papers or Twitter, Jesus, I made the mistake of looking at Twitter before. I remember I was dropped for the start. I think it was the 2013 or 2014 season. I wasn't playing 2013. 2014 anyway. Played a game, and Owen had made this is when Owen actually made mistakes. He was only young enough at the time. Now I think he's Superman. But he made a mistake, and I actually went, right, I'm actually gonna look up Twitter to try and see, is anyone slagging on?
Yeah.
Because I just know they were slagging me during my time. So I slagged it up anyway.
Are they doing it to him?
I looked it up. Yeah, I said, right, so see, is anyone putting any bit of pressure on him there that way anyway? And I looked it up, and they said, Jesus, Owen Murphy's very poor today. And then I was like, all right, but even a dead Owen Murphy's still better than David Herity. That was my introduction to Twitter, and that was it. I wasn't on Twitter at the time, but I went and searched
it. Serves you right.
Serves me right, absolutely, yeah. So that was it.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. Never ever forget.
Oh God.
But it's gone through the roof. I think it's not easy nowadays. I saw who's it there? Was it Jack McCaffrey just wiped off social media there, kind of just for the year in the run up to the 5 in a row and stuff. But no, even if you're not trying to look for something will be said. And I always think it's funny for players. You're looking up Twitter afterwards, and they tag the person in it.
Yeah.
Like at Grace Welch had this game today. You're thinking, why? Say what you're going to say, like. But you don't. If you're slagging someone off behind their back, you don't.
No.
You don't put them on loudspeaker and say it to them. Why would you do it then, like on Twitter? I don't get it. But everyone seems that they.
It's like there's no rules. They can just do what you like, especially Twitter. People write whatever they like. It's dangerous, yeah.
But I'm delighted that, I don't know, for the ladies, are they looking after them as well as you think?
Oh, sure, the women's GPA have been incredible as well. They're always texting, and they always have things on the side. Like if you do need to go speak to someone, there's always that availability. And they're working really, really close with the GPA now as well. And they're putting some good things in place. So it's just kind of up to the person then, I suppose, that needs the help to go and ask
to
for
reach
it.
out. Yeah,
but it's vital. Jeez, it's brilliant to see that, because I know the lads had it for years, but it's great that's kind of really kicked off the last few years there for the girls as well. Yeah, it's brilliant.
And you mentioned just briefly there about your job. So you're a nurse up here in Dublin.
Yeah.
So how did you balance all that between doing those long hours and getting the training?
I suppose we do like 12.5-hour shifts. So we do 3 days one week and 4 days the next. So my managers in work have been incredible. Like I couldn't say enough about them, because they've just been so good to me. And I suppose we do now on the ward, just so that it's fair for everybody, we do kind of a self-roster system. So you just put down the days that you want to work and they don't want to work, and it works out really well. And if there is ever a day where training has changed last minute or whatever it is, and I need to swap, like my managers, they'll just do it no problem. And like I couldn't thank them enough, and I could never leave the place, because
you feel you owe them something now.
But so I usually work on a Monday, drive home Tuesdays, work Wednesday, drive home Thursday, work Friday, go home Saturday then, and maybe work depending on if I have a 4-day week or not. So it's a lot of travelling. I don't have much social life. The only people I see are my niece, my nephew, Finn and Pippa. My days off, like I'm home in Kilkenny, so I just spend all my time with them. They'd be sick of seeing me coming Because I'm like, what can we do today? Because, all my friends will be working, my housemates and stuff. So it's hard, but, like I can't complain. It's my own choice.
You love it.
So, yeah, I do it for the love of the game, I suppose.
Yeah, it's hard. Obviously, like being an inter-county player and then trying to balance, to have a career. Like almost like we're talking about today's game, it's gone very, like almost professional.
Yeah.
And how people balance it. I don't know. What was it like for you, David, when you were playing?
Teacher.
Oh, is that a blow? Is that a low blow here?
They don't even work. What, 3 hours a day, is it? 4?
Then if you take
Summer's
a
off.
break and big breaks, down to about 10 minutes. I tell the kids not to take off their jackets anymore. So in the revolving door, straight
Out the
back
door.
in again. Yeah, it's handy. But teaching it is extremely handy, and that's where most of
The GA players do it.
Yeah, and that's, again, there's been a serious influx. You're either a sales rep or you're a teacher. That's pretty much what every inter-county player seems to be nowadays. But you'd finish at 2:30. We'd go through the routine. I'd drive straight out to the Putcheen still. I'd have my pillow. I'd put the seat back. I'd sleep there. I'd meet up, have my little nap there. I'd have soup and a roll. Then I'd meet up with, could be Richie Hogan or Paddy Hogan. Richie wouldn't talk to you for the next 40 minutes because he's hot as bejesus. Then we'd get down the road then, and we'd Richie Power, Chaff Fitz, we'd all meet up there for a while, and and then go to training and back up again. And but it was just something you got into. You just had to get into a routine. Of having your dinners cooked at the start of the week. But even it's good practice for the rest of your life. I know on a Sunday is my cooking day. I'll cook myself 5 omelettes. That'll do me every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That'll be that for school. Same with dinners. I just have everything planned out now. So I can't remember the last time actually.
Is that what you do as well, Grace?
I try.
You just had to have everything kind of meticulous, and you're training, but you're in a bubble. But it's funny when spoke about when I did decide. Then obviously I was retiring, and after that conversation with Brian, it was like a weight off my shoulders then, kind of just the pressure of it. Just, some things sit easy with you and don't. I always kind of knew I'd be a better manager. I was always a better manager of other people than myself. That if I saw someone injured and they were on, I can remember one day Conor Fogarty had a broken leg, broke a bone in his leg, and he was on the treadmill because he wanted to keep with one leg, like just trying to keep it going. I was like, would you not rest? Like, surely, And he was like, no. But I was like, but you should be resting. But then, but a year later, the same thing. Yeah, that's. I know I had an injury and I should have, and I was told to rest, but I was like, no, not a hope. Like, no, that was just ridiculous. But I couldn't do that. But nowadays, it's kind of grand to bring that experience in. When you see certain lads out in the field, they might be pucking a ball. They could have bruised ribs, something simple like that. But you're kind of going, just relax. You're not going to do yourself any
better by coming out here tonight.
By trying to force it there tonight. No. So you like that bit of experience, but I wasn't. No.
So you always seen yourself then as a manager?
Yeah, but I think as a goalkeeper, you spend your whole game just watching as well anyway, and just seeing what's going on, and you see that your man is playing well or not playing well, or he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, and you basically spend the whole day organising.
Managing, from the back.
Like that's, I wasn't the certain elements to a goalkeeper, but I found that like my best attribute, you're not going to see it at Laker Gale about lad organising the backs, but there's not a whole lot of shots came in at me because I was good at shouting and roaring. That's
why you didn't get to make that big save.
That was probably it. But it was So you just organise and you make sure that was right, and you are kind of on the periphery the whole time of when the match is going on. You'd finish a game and everyone else is celebrating, and you're just kind of going, I haven't done a whole lot. I've taken a few puck-outs and stuff. Like I've finished all Ireland's.
You're very hard on yourself.
Yeah.
I finished all Ireland's and not
puck-outs
felt.
Are very important.
Yeah.
Not back then. You just drove as long as you could, and anyone just caught them. But no, I honestly have finished all Ireland's and felt nothing, absolutely nothing, running around the pitch. But the same as managing now.
What you finished the game, you're on the pitch, you're in Croke Park.
I'll never forget it, running around, and unless it's a perfect game, I will not be happy at all. It's playing it. That's why I think I kind of gave up. I was never happy with anything I did. So just say we win the match in 2011, I'd let in a goal I wasn't happy I let in with. I remember running around with the cup and feeling nothing. And just
because you're annoyed at yourself for
I'm annoyed
that
at
goal.
myself, yeah. It's not, I don't know what.
Or that you've no heart.
No, we'd finish a match, but just say we'd finish a match and we'd win it. But just 10 minutes later, even, a minute later, nothing. People would be celebrating. I just wouldn't. I don't.
Is that just because you're hard on yourself criticising the game? If you had a great game there and you were running around, you think you'd on top of the world then?
No, I don't. It's just something that once it finishes, it finishes.
Okay, so you're looking at more like, that's done now, lads. We're on to the next one.
Kind of, yeah. Like, I just want to keep going and keep moving on to the next thing. But it's, I don't know. I have seen other kind of sports people talking about that as well. I remember seeing Ronan O'Gara, and it kind of, it relaxed me a little bit. I don't know what he was talking about, but he's very hard on himself, and he goes, he just doesn't enjoy the winning. Or didn't enjoy it. Didn't enjoy what was going on. I don't think I ever really, really enjoyed it. Just the whole thing. I don't think I did, but
mad,
I always fooled myself about, you'd at start you'd win an All Ireland, and then at the start of next year, you're like, my God, if we actually win the All Ireland this year, I am going to drink for 6 months solid. I just won't sleep. It's going to be the most phenomenal 6 months. And then the semi-final, like, imagine if we win, it's going to be crazy. And then you win the All Ireland, you're like, that's it. It was that. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's like a thing of even career-wise or anything. You're always hoping to get there, and you're like putting everything in, and you want to get to this point, and that's your aim. And then you get there. Like, my dad said that to me one time. He said the best fun he ever had was like trying to get to the highest part in his career. And he said when he got there, he was like, oh crap, I didn't realise that the best times were behind me. So maybe it's that sort of.
Yeah, so I'd be the complete opposite of that now. Even
certain people
that like I didn't feel like I'd won an All Ireland, but the feeling afterwards was still incredible. Like, because the girls, I think maybe it was because I was so happy for the girls.
Yeah.
Like
2009, I still remember underneath the players bar afterwards, when you get the players bar for about 3.5 seconds.
We don't get that.
Why? Where's this in Croke Park? You get the players bar.
They kind of go, come on in here and have the drinks. Then you go, oh, time's up, and then just pull down the shutters.
Oh, this is in Croke Park.
It's in Croke Park. Underneath, you get a pass and you go in and you're so kind of hyped up. You get one bottle and you start chatting, and then you just pull down the shutters. But technically, they've given you a free bar. But I remember sitting there with Noel Hickey, and there was cocktail sausages and sandwiches, and he was just kind of, because he wasn't playing that year, and he was just like, what do you do? Like, I was like, just keep eating, Noel, and you keep drinking, and that's pretty much it.
We're doing this for 6 months.
But everyone else, like, they do get the. It's funny, like you could play every minute all the way up to the whole year, but if you don't play the final, it's just a little bit different. Yeah, the final is just. It's funny, they just don't recognise anything you've done.
Just being there for the final whistle, like, and just.
Yeah, but look, you have unbelievable sessions afterwards. But I think you enjoy the session because you're with the lads. But I never connected back to the actual match or anything that's gone on. Then sometimes, I don't know, maybe you don't appreciate. I definitely have never sat down and really appreciated what I actually did. Like, I know you were saying you're giving up all your time there. Like, it's really ridiculous the amount of time and effort you put in, and what you do put on hold. But it's fantastic. Like, the rewards are huge. Like, you get a chance to play for your county, I think is still phenomenal. The chance that you get to play in an All Ireland in Croke Park is unbelievable. And like, I know now I'd give my left arm to get back to where you're at. Yeah. But yet I didn't appreciate it.
At the time.
But I guarantee you, if I got back and got into an All Ireland and won it, I'd still be like this again. Like,
yeah.
I still fool myself though. It'd be unbelievable though.
Cold.
Yeah. But anyway, soon anyway.
So you enjoy that challenge maybe, that because they're not known for their hurling. So you like that challenge of trying to build the lads, build the county, build hurling.
I would, yeah. No, yeah, because I can see the potential in them. I would have seen it a few years ago when we had played against them in colleges. I was involved with Trinity at the time, and there's no doubt about it. The talent is there. I do love an underdog. I would have always kind of seen myself as one. So I that's exactly a team that I can see that I can try and improve, and that actually care about what they're doing and want to make strides and can have the ability to make it. But I see with them that they definitely have that chance. That's why I went for it, to try and actually go along and see can I improve things. And slowly but surely we're trying to build a profile. It's a slow enough progress, but hopefully, with a bit of extra success there this year, if we can get them back up into, like I say, in 2A, that's what the main aim is. We're going to be going back in the next couple of weeks. Thankfully now this year we have a panel of 35 already. Last year, it was a struggle to get that panel, but we have, and the lads are hungry and eager to get going with it. So it's usually it's challenging, but it's usually rewarding. I love working with the lads and working with the county board as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. And Grace, for you now, what's next? 2020, is it to push on and get that All-Ireland?
Yeah, well, hopefully anyway. We're not going back till January now, so we've a nice little bit of a break. So we're going to definitely make the most of the break. And looking forward to the new setup. We've Tommy Shefflin is coming in as a coach this year. So I've never met him. I've never trained under him or anything, but I've heard nothing but good things about him. So that's something to look forward to. And I suppose disappointing that Anna's gone, but can't forget Lee Megan either. He was one of our coaches. He does all the winter work with us. But he has been incredible as well, and we'll definitely miss him. But definitely looking forward to 2020. And hopefully we'll be lifting the Duffy.
That's it. Positive thinking.
Yeah.
And so if I had to ask, Bodie, is your favourite player you ever played alongside with?
Mine's Noel Hickey, without a doubt. Yeah, it's
No hesitation.
No, I played with him for years. He was from school, club, college, all the way up there to obviously inter-county then as well. But he was just a different gravy. He was an absolute. His nickname is the Bull, but he was just phenomenal. He'd kill anything that had come through. I crossed him once ever, and he barked back at me, and that was my biggest mistake ever. I came out to him, but he was just immense. He was the reason why I was as successful as I was and made the strides was all thanks to him. But I'd never seen anyone that was so psyched to just win every single day, and he'd motivate anyone as well. I just thought he's such a born leader. Brilliant. Tommy was phenomenal as well. JJ, two brilliant lads, but just Noel Hickey for me every day, all day was brilliant.
Good stuff. And Grace?
I couldn't pick one. I'd say there's so many on that team like that I just love playing alongside. I genuinely couldn't pick one person.
Even growing up, was there someone that you always looked up to?
No.
Even if it's on the men's team?
I know. Well, on the men's team, JJ Delaney was definitely my favourite player because he was just class and he was so quiet about it. I don't know. There was just something about him, he was just incredible.
He's the most genuine, honest lad you'll ever meet. He is different.
No fuss about him.
None whatsoever. No, he's such a. If you had a problem now, you'd give him a shout as well. But yeah, no, he's brilliant, and he is a future manager, I think, as well. Now, I think he just has the head for it. You see him in there with Sky, but he's a great lad, really and truly. And
we'll finish up on this one then. So, David, obviously, you've did it all and you're going on to management and stuff now. What advice would you give here now to Grace? Maybe if you're looking back, and what would you have liked to have been told maybe at her age?
To just relax and enjoy it. And to relax, I suppose, is probably the biggest thing. To not be too hard on yourself. Try and focus in on the positives as well. Not every game is not going to go exactly the way you want it, but just to focus in on the positives. I just think there's enough kind of negativity. I had a kind of negative lad on the side of my shoulder there saying stuff to me the whole time, and I just felt that, Jesus, you just need to try and keep it as positive as possible. You're obviously doing plenty of things good. You've won an All-Star, you've played in All-Ireland finals. You're one of the probably first names on that Kilkenny Camogie team, but just to try and focus in on the positives and just keep, as I kind of say, anything is to try and strive for perfection and hope that you reach excellence along the way. Just keep pushing yourself on the whole time, but just find new ways of actually trying to get better, but at the same time focus on the positives.
Brilliant. That all right, Grace?
Yeah, that's a good bit of advice. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thanks so much for joining me today.